Today's podcast is brought to you by StrongHeartAcademy.com, where no heart is no victory. We are also brought to you by BJJ To Go. If you want to build your game and learn jiu-jitsu, go to bjjtogo.com. Okay, so today I just want to talk about being a black belt. Last weekend on the 5th, we did belt graduation. It's the first one I've done ever. I've always given black belts or given belts out during class. Like, you're ready. We do a test at Strong Heart. You have to have the hours required. Then you take your test, and then we do a gauntlet. And then after the gauntlet, I would give the belt for blue belts and purple belts and brown belts. And then black belts, we've done them during, like, Kyle would come out and we do a seminar, and then we do a black belt, like a little bit of ceremony for the black belts. And, my reasoning was that when you're ready, you're ready, and I don't want you to have to wait. Some of these schools will do one graduation a year, twice a year, and I always, bothered me. What if, you have to go out of town for work that weekend? What if your mother is in the hospital that weekend? It's just not, I didn't never seem fair to do that. So we're going to start doing them quarterly. You will have the option. If you, again, you still have to have the hours, you still have to do the test, and you still have to do a gauntlet. And a lot of these schools, they just go, I think you're ready, and then they give you a belt. And then I'm not a fan of that. We always had a test. And we'll always continue to have a test. And so that being said, we're going to continue forward, but I think every 3 months we're going to have one of these and see how it goes. It went great this weekend. I gave 2 black belts out. They were earned. Joseph Westbrook, he's trained with me since the beginning. He trained at a school that I ran for years, and we both trained together there. So he's been trained about 15 years. So, it's a long road sometimes. And then Adrian is trained with me, I'm not even quite sure, maybe 7 years, 6 years. But he trains almost every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And he was my first black belt that was from white to black. A lot of the guys that I've given black belts to were started at blue, or they've trained a little bit somewhere first. I've taken most of my black belts all the way, or most of the way, but he was the first one I took all the way from white to black. And for me, that was a big deal. And I told him, you're going to be my expectation is going to be even higher for you, man, because you're going to have to set the bar now. And I think he did. I asked him to do a couple things, fix a couple things, work on a couple things, and he did that. He applied and got it done. And, Westbrook has been my friend forever, one of my really good friends. And I'm happy for both of them. We gave out a number of other black belts too. A bunch of people got belts. I saw a bunch of old students of mine that don't train anymore or train. I have one guy that trains in another school, and it was just good to see him. It was good memories. It's good memories, and I was very appreciative of the whole day, and it was it was good for me. It was good for my soul. So, we'll continue those, and I think everyone enjoyed it and liked it, and we'll go forward. And we got some good pictures. Marcel. From Marcel Visuals, he does photography and videography, and he did a great job, and I'll post those videos up, and if you ever want to check him out, it's at marcelvisuals.com, I believe. And he has his own studio too. You can go to a studio and do professional professional shoot. He does with models all the time. So I'm happy for him too. He's one of my students. I'm just happy that he's doing his passion in life, and it's so hard. Society is not really built for people wanting to do their passions. It's very built for get in the machine, be your cog, and shut your mouth type of thing. So it's hard to do your passion, but I think in the long run, even the struggles, you will be happier on the journey if you do those type of things. And one of the things during the gauntlet or during the graduation was Adrian said he whispered to me, I always knew I was going to be a black belt. And it was like a kind of a mind-blown epiphany, whatever. Was like, yeah, like you have to believe that you can get there. And man, unfortunately, there's a lot of watering down in jiu-jitsu right now. I've seen a lot of guys getting black belts. It's not because it's like less time, because I think you can get black belts a lot faster now. I would still say you should, unless you're winning world titles, I still say it should take a minimum of 6 years. Guys are doing it 4 or 5. That's cool, but have you won any of the world titles? Kyle got it in 3, but he was winning world titles after world title after world title after world title, doing open divisions. Like, yeah, man, like you got to give that guy the black belt, but like there's guys getting black belts that I don't know that I personally would give them a black belt. And maybe my standards are a little high, and none of my guys have won titles or anything, but like they have the years in, the experience in, and they have the battles in, and they've helped others. They've done the things that I feel like are required to be a black belt. And to me, like, you almost have to be a kind of a crazy person. You have to be super dedicated in order to do it, and you have to really want it. You can't be like a hobby, Jiu-jitsu could be a hobby, no problem, but if you want to be a black belt, man, it's got to be a little bit more than that. It's like your way of life. And I think it's just hard to be a black belt without that. And you can for sure, but it's harder. And I highly recommend going all in if that's what you want to do, if you want to be a black belt. And that doesn't mean you have to, win world titles, but definitely if you want to win world titles, you have to be all in. You cannot be a toe in. You can't be lukewarm. You got to be red hot for it. And you got to love it. You got to love that grind. And if you don't love the grind, I think it's really hard to get to the end. And it's not the end, but like it's the first end, I would say. It's the first end. The first major milestone. And that blue belt's kind of a milestone too, because you're starting like, okay, I think I understand the basics now. But black belt means like you've mastered the basics, in my opinion. You have mastery of the basics. We went to a seminar, I won't say who, not that long ago, and I saw some black belts there, and they were like, they didn't know what De La Riva was. De La Riva is so old. It's not like this new fancy thing, man. Like, you should know how to play De La Riva. Even if it's not your game to play, you should know what it is. He's like, you don't know what it is? How are you a black belt? I don't understand. Some of that could be, not in these guys, because these guys were new black belts, but some of that could be like, you're so old that you never trained, it was new back then and 20 years ago, but you're not, you don't play it. But sometimes these guys, like, they stop learning when they're black belts. They're like, I know everything I need. And maybe that's true, but like, anytime you're in an industry and you quit learning, the industry passes you by. Jiu-jitsu is no different. Jiu-jitsu is constantly changing, and there are certain areas I think I'm behind that I need to work on. But I try to work on stuff. I really do. Age isn't the factor that stops me from learning. That's a limiting mindset that I don't like, and I don't think you should have that as a black belt. It's like, oh, I'm a black belt, I'm done learning. No, not really, man. It could be, but it shouldn't be. That's not a good way to think about it or do it. And you could definitely quit after black belt. I mean, it's a big accomplishment for sure. But like, I so love jiu-jitsu that I can't imagine quitting. It's like marriage, that you love someone. Why would you quit? Unless you're physically cannot do it. But even then, man, I would be around it. I would be pointing, and I would be around, and I would still study. I would be watching jiu-jitsu, and you got to have that love, man. I just think you got to have that love to get to the end. You can't make a black belt without a love of it. And, I've heard some people lately saying there should be no belts. We should just compete. Whoever's the best wins. And I mean, in wrestling that happens, but there's definitely levels to this. And to say there's not levels is weird, because even in basketball, I'm a big basketball fan. Like, the difference between high school basketball and college basketball, and then the NBA basketball, and then the NBA champions or all-stars, those are all levels, man. And those aren't belts per se, but those are definitely levels. You most high school kids will get destroyed by college, and most college kids would get destroyed by NBA players. So it's for me, it's like the same concept. Even junior high to high school. Now, some of that is like physical growth, but it's also knowledge and skill set too. I mean, those come with time and hours put in, and it just takes the hours. And jiu-jitsu is no different. And so that's how I look at those kind of belts almost. It's like depth of knowledge and depth of application and skill. And if you just don't have that, I just think it is it slows down the learning. Even like college, you can get a bachelor's, but you can get a master's, or you can get a PhD in so many fields that you didn't think you can get a PhD in, but you can get a PhD in a lot of things. So it's like those are levels, You can consider those like belts almost, because it's the mastery of the subject. And you're trying to get a level of mastery of the subject. And I always heard, calling someone a master. I'm like, I don't like that, because I feel like you never really master anything, but you definitely have a certain level of mastery of something. But the master is like, I know everything there is to it in my mind. And it's just like not possible. And that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, because it can keep me motivated and not bored, because there's always something new, and there's always little adjustments. I don't want to say micro adjustments, but there's micro adjustments that you can make for sure at a higher level to make you better. And I think that's an awesome journey. And it was cool to see their families there and support them at the graduation. And it went great. I think it went great. So I definitely want to continue these. And March is funny because I got my black belt in 2009 on March 24th. So this month will be my black belt anniversary. And I should be getting my 4th stripe pretty soon. I got to meet up with Kyle somehow and get that done. And it's also the month I started jiu-jitsu. So it was like March 1st-ish. It was the first week of March in year 2000. So I've been at this for 22 years. And there's times where I've been tired and getting burnt out, but I've never dropped jiu-jitsu. I never not trained jiu-jitsu. The longest I ever took off jiu-jitsu in 22 years was 2 months for a shoulder injury. Surgery, I should say. And that was not, I was supposed to do 9 months. But that's just like my love for this. And man, I feel like sometimes I get confused that people don't have the same love with me, which is delusional on my part. But, that's a super projection. But I think you have to have the same love to get to that end. And it can't be like, this is something I do. Now, it could be, this is something I do that helps me be straight and narrow and keep me motivated and goal setting. That's true. And it could be like a utility for you even more than a passion. So the utility of it is important. I make people write out certain questions I ask when they do their black belt test. They give me a sheet they want you to fill out. And she wrote out a thing, and she said, one of the things that jiu-jitsu done for me is that it gives me an excuse to tell my friends that I can't go out tonight and party. And I was like, yeah, it does. And it did the same thing when I first started, because I started when I was 20. I was 21. And then when I turned 21, you can go out and go to try to pick up girls, and you're going to bars and things like that. But like in the middle of the week, that's not healthy. And then you can't do that when you can, but you shouldn't be doing that when you're getting older. You got years in, and like, I thought that was a great thing that she said. It was like, it gives me this excuse not to go out. And again, that would be like the utility of it. This week, one of my students said, hey, it's my 2-year anniversary of being sober. And I looked down the line, and there was 4 other people in the line that I didn't say anything, but I know that they've been, they have a sober way of life as well. And, they had their struggles, and I think jiu-jitsu has also helped them with that journey. So there's 5 people in this line of, maybe there was a smaller class, like 12 people. So 5 out of 12 have used and maybe are using jiu-jitsu as a vehicle to stay clean and sober and do something positive with your time, because everyone has time, and you're going to fill it no matter what. Even if you sleep all day, it's filling your time with sleep, and you might as well do something positive with it. And it can give you an excuse to be positive, like, oh man, I got to do jiu-jitsu, I can't go out tonight, sorry. And I think the non-jiu-jitsu people look at you like, what? Why are you rolling around with a bunch of people? But they don't understand it, and they're not in that place in their life where they're ready to make a change. They just want to party. And I get it. It's fun, but there's consequences to that. So, and to say that there's no consequences to jiu-jitsu, for sure, there's going to be injuries, but I went over that in the past too, man. Like, you get older, there's always injuries. Our body breaks down no matter what you did. Lack of exercise will break your body down. So at least you're going to have good stories, and you'll be in shape in between the injuries. But I'd rather pay those prices than the liver damage or whatever your fun choice is that you do that's going to wear that body down. So these are just kind of reflections of the weekend and of the graduation that we had. And I'll put some pictures up. Marcel took some great pictures, and I'll figure out how to get everyone's pictures. We took a picture of everyone getting their belts, so I'll try to do that for you guys and get those out for you sometime this week. Some of you I text, but it's just too many people to send via text, and I don't know how much I can compress these pictures too. So I'll get those out. I appreciate everyone showing up too for the graduation and supporting the people that got new belts and leveled up, and it was just a great experience overall. So this is a short one today. I just wanted to share that with you guys, and hope you guys have a great weekend. Peace.
Let me talk for just a second, help me feel that sense of rhythm. Find the meanings in our bearings and discover this position as a stage along the way. Another rung to the ladder, either stalling or you're climbing, and I'd rather beat the ladder. Instead of getting fatter, let the footsteps resume naturally.